Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. Wow, day before Thanksgiving, people. Who can believe? It's been the weirdest thing because in so many ways, with the whole COVID and everything, it's been a really slow year. And on the other hand, we're at the end of it. So wait, what? I know it's already been 9 months of COVID, and I'm just praying for everybody. I'm just praying for everybody. So many people are so broken, scared, and genuinely so. They don't have the resources they need. They're certainly not living as they were accustomed, right? So that's super difficult. And I have compassion for those people. It's not a matter of saying, well, too bad, adjust, or we have too much as it is. It's hard to be forced to change overnight. It's very difficult, and I pray for them. And my husband and I are giving whenever we can. I'm always wondering if I'm giving enough. Is there any way I could be giving more? You could probably always give more. But like if everybody dared to give what they could, we'd be handled. But that is not the case. Most certainly not the case. So I know Thanksgiving and holidays in general bring up a lot for people. For me, I think what's difficult about it is that I was raised in a really exciting environment that loved holidays. I mean, I get so excited, I'd like throw up the night before and just being overly excited. It was just so much, preparation for days, because you can imagine there was 13 of us, and then we always had way more than that in the house, and we could expect 20 something people for any given holiday. And then like certainly for Christmas, we were so blessed with an abundance. My parents loved holidays and they planned them well. Well, in my adult life, I've never been able to compete with those memories. And certainly this year, where I'm literally deciding to stay home, I did have an option to be with family. I'm choosing not to, all as part of the COVID. I just feel like issues, right? Oh my gosh, so many issues. That said, I have a great article. Wait, let me try that again. A fantastic article, because all of mine are fantastic articles. This one is called 6 Ways to Silence Shame by the Hope Line. And I've often said that I tend to be shame-based. And just kind of in reflecting on that, I was realizing when it comes up for me, it's for things that I can't control, but often those things don't belong to me anyway. So when I was a little girl, things would be put on me, and I think from my inability to fix it or control it, I initially would have guilt, of course, but then it would go to shame, that rather than it being about an issue to be solved, it became about me and my inability to solve it. And it's kind of a pattern I've seen, because I saw my father also doing that, and it's not a surprise that generationally we might respond the same way to something. But I remember, rather than us blaming others, like it has never felt safe to blame others in my experience, so I readily blame myself. And when my father would be frustrated, he would be yelling at himself, kind of like I've expressed before, when I would say, I'm such an idiot, I'm such a blowout, I'm so I can't, like it's just easier to remain self-contained and to blame myself. And it's really unfortunate, because everything is an opportunity to grow and to learn, right? And I would love that mindset. I'm not there yet. I sometimes am, but not yet. So this is really good. 6 ways to silence the shame, and also the difference between shame and guilt. So it says, have you ever heard that little voice in your head say, you don't fit in. Nobody likes you. You're stupid. You're the only one who's made this mistake. How could God love you? I mean, he really knows everything about you. You're not lovable. You will never fulfill your destiny. Or have you ever felt like, everyone's against me. I'm not as good as others. I just can't do anything right. Maybe if I just try harder, then I'm all alone. I hate myself. I'm worthless. Academy Award-winning performance. Thank you. Or have I lived a bunch of those and I'm really good at it? Maybe the latter. It says, if you answered yes to any of these statements, shame could be speaking to you. So shame has been speaking since the Garden of Eden. When Adam and Eve first sinned in the garden, guilt was an appropriate symptom of their disobedience. Guilt is built into our conscience to let us know when we have done something that threatens our connection to God. Let me make this screen a little smaller. Jeez, okay. Guilt is actually a good thing. It's like a warning light on your car's dashboard that lets you know something needs attention before the engine blows up. I love that. I can totally see that. Okay, so listen to this, please. Let's put on our thinking caps. Guilt is from God. Shame is from Satan. And interesting, because guilt is a G, God is a G, Satan is an S, shame is an S. It's a good way to remember it. So guilt says you did something wrong. Like the Apostle Paul said, all have sinned. Romans chapter 3, verse 23. Guilt says, I did something bad. Guilt is about what we've done, okay? Shame goes further. It speaks to who you are. Shame is a sense of feeling unworthy. It's a core, even subconscious belief of unworthiness. Shame says you are wrong. You are a sinner. You are bad. You are not good enough. Shame asks, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are, Mr. Beast? Sorry. Focus. Thank you. I get that. And that is so typical of me to joke just now, because when I feel scared or threatened or something's too close to the truth, I go to the class clown, right? It saved me as a kid. It's my first thing. Get the room to laugh because it's too serious in here. I totally get that. So shame attempts to speak to our identity. If the devil can convince us that we do not have a supernatural identity as children of God, then he can derail us from our supernatural destiny. Do you love that? Do you love that? Let's go back. Not what he's doing, but what was proclaimed in that we have a supernatural identity, right? That we are royalty by virtue of adoption and being in the Holy Family. I love that. And that he wants to derail us from our supernatural destiny. Oh, I love that. So when Jesus was baptized, he heard the Father say, "This is my Son." Identity, interestingly, Jesus did not preach one message, heal one sick person, or prophecy until he first heard of his true identity. Oh, that's neat. I didn't really put that together before now. So before his Father proclaimed, "This is my Son in whom I am well pleased," he didn't proclaim that identity. I love that. We can only fulfill our supernatural destiny to the degree that we believe our supernatural identity. I have no doubt that I'm a God person, but I often say, "Father, even if I am a lapdog at your feet, may I be in your kingdom." So I don't know how secure that is. Oh, well, he gets it. He so gets it. He knows my brokenness. He knows my awesomeness. He knows his great plan for me. I just have to keep breathing, right? As long as I stay on the planet. And again, I'm thinking 50 more years. I will definitely meet whatever the objective was for that little girl. So shame tries to talk us out of our identity, okay? So after his baptism, Jesus was led out into the desert to be tempted by the devil. 2 times the devil assaulted Jesus' identity when he challenged him, saying, "If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread." And then, "If you are the Son of God, jump off the temple roof." You know what I mean? So he's like questioning him. The devil was attempting to tempt Jesus into performing to prove his identity because he knew that Jesus took the challenge. If Jesus took the challenge, he would demonstrate that he did not really know who he was. Moreover, he would have to spend the rest of his life proving his identity over and over. Knowing our true identity prevents performance for approval. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's think about that a second. Knowing our true identity prevents performance for approval. I like that. I'm going to have to think about that. If you're confident in who you are, you don't seek approval from anyone. To a large extent, that is completely true in my life. I do not look outward. I look upward. I certainly look inward. I genuinely do not look to others for approval, but occasionally, hi, human, it does sneak up on me. Like when I was trying to get to 200 followers on JulesBlessedVegan. That was just falling prey to the game. But largely, it's not something that I think about too much. But that could be because I don't have the esteem to seek elsewhere, right? People with high esteem readily call on the planet to affirm them. It's kind of a catch-22. So it says shame is the source of perfectionism. We could end the conversation right there. That is what I suffer from so much. So shame always seeks to seduce its prey into perfectionism. When we listen to shame, we will never feel secure in our identity. We will always need to do more to prove that we are okay, while never actually appeasing shame's appetite for approval. Oh, I so get that. The pursuit of feeling worthy by being better, more successful, thinner, smarter, wealthier, accomplished, or even in good busyness is a futile attempt at cultivating a godly sense of worthiness. Those who have the grace to know that they're enough just by virtue of being created, just by virtue of God's love for them, how lucky is that? Otherwise, you're right. We will never have that worthiness. So the Apostle Paul states in Ephesians 2:10 that we are saved by grace, not of ourselves. That part I completely know, trust me. It is the gift of God so that no one can boast. It's true. It should absolutely deflate your sails by realizing there's nothing you can do to earn God's love. I don't find it to be that often true, but it should. Okay, that means you cannot earn worthiness. We are worthy of God's love because of his grace and nothing more. Additionally, we were God's treasure before we ever became Christians. This part I love so much. If you haven't committed to God, hear this part. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. When God created Adam and Eve, he said that they were good. They had intrinsic worth, worthiness, his treasures. So precious. Okay, so here's how to shame the silencers. And there's 6 things. Number 1, learn how to recognize God's voice from the devil's voice. Ask yourself, is what I'm hearing the truth or a lie? Try writing down all the time shame speaks to you during the day. You may be surprised at how often shame is speaking. Number 2, learn how to be vulnerable. Shame loves secrecy. The truth will set us free. Being open and honest requires great risk, but also reaps great reward. Begin with yourself, God, and then reach out to someone who can give you good feedback. Yeah, it's got to be someone who will tell you the truth. Telling someone that we have been listening to shame releases us from the power of secrecy and silences shame. This is something I fight against every day. Every day, a voice says, never do JulesBlessedVegan again. You're not worth listening to. We're tired of hearing you. Everything you say is, ridiculous. You're such a liar. Don't be part of the raw reset. Like I'm doing that Tanny raw reset right now. Don't post in there. Don't give feedback. I get this all day long. I'm not kidding you. Stop commenting on social media. Seriously. When I think of Jesus in the desert, this voice suggests to me, and it's ironic that I'm living in the desert right now, that I just should never communicate again with anybody. And is that silencing the God in me? It might be, now that I think about it. But I go through this all day long. It's so interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Number 3, learn to recognize your feelings. Empathy is the antidote to shame. When we're able to discern and identify the feelings of others and our feelings, it creates a pathway to finding out what we need from God, others, and ourselves. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now and what do I need? So important. Yeah, because of course, what? Compulsive overeater, alcoholic, drowning feelings, right? Numbing the feelings at the risk of what? Right? Okay, because it's never worked. It's never worked. Okay, learn to take every thought captive. Oh, I love this. You're going to be tempted to believe and act in negative, hurtful, and dysfunctional ways to the shame messages spoken to you. Shame is silenced when we take ownership of our mistakes, accept our limitations, deficiencies. One second, please. Accept our limitations, deficiencies, and limitations. Aren't those the same thing? I got to do this again. Shame is silenced when we take ownership of our mistakes, accept our limitations, deficiencies, and limitations, as well as interpret other people's motives carefully. Oh, I like that. Interpret others' motives carefully. Take responsibility in submitting shaming thoughts and feelings to become obedient to Christ's perspective. Oh, this is biblical. So 2 Corinthians verse 10, chapter 10, verse 5. Take responsibility in submitting shaming thoughts and feelings to become obedient to Christ's perspective. I have to think about that one. Okay, learn how to listen through the ears of faith. Ask yourself, what does God want to say to me about my identity right now? What does he think about me? Additionally, begin reading scripture from the perspective that God is for you, that you are a good man or woman, that you are a saint saved by grace, an overcomer, the apple of his eye. Oh, Guy, how sweet is that? The apple of God's eye. You know, it's interesting. Some days, and seemingly when I've been struggling or doubting myself, a bunch of random people will send me kind messages. I mean, really random, like people I haven't talked to since 4th grade or met from a friend, and just these really odd, loving, kind, supportive messages will come through. And I'll be like, that is straight from God, literally from God, okay? I love that. Okay, so learn to be grateful. The fact that you are wonderfully made, I love that, Psalms 139, verse 14. Being grateful for how God has made you and all your limitations and imperfections will help you to replace shame with acceptance and love. Every time you hear shame messages left on your mental voicemail, that's brilliant. Erase them with gratitude. Okay, I am going to copy that and put it on my desktop. I'm not kidding you. That is so brilliant. Every time you hear shame messages left on your mental voicemail, erase them with gratitude. Thankfulness prepares the way for a breakthrough. What a beautiful conclusion. Okay, let's go back. Let's just go back through really quickly. Okay, so first is the actual title of this was 6 Ways to Silence Shame. Second was the reminder that shame has been speaking since the Garden of Eden. Third, shame attempts to speak to our identity. We have to remember we are indeed royalty, children of the family of God. Shame tries to talk us out of our identity, gets us to doubt all that has been promised to us. Shame is a source of perfectionism, absolutely. It tries to seduce its prey into perfectionism, where we never feel like we're enough. And then the silencers for these were learn how to recognize God's voice from the devil's voice. I would say discern the two. Learn how to be vulnerable. Learn to recognize your feelings, so important and not easy. Learn to take every thought captive, to evaluate every thought. Learn how to listen through the ears of faith and learn to be grateful. That was a good one, people. That was a good one. I needed that. So, I am still a work in progress regarding shame versus healthy guilt. I so get it. All right, people, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, best of all, I am praying for you for Thanksgiving and know that you are blessed.